welcome. Today we're going to start putting a lot of the little lessons that we've been building together and see how they work to help us to divide by a decimal. Dividing by a decimal number has a lot of similarities with writing equivalent problems. You can look at this problem up here. It says 10 divided by 5. If I were to take 10 and multiply by 10, it gives me 100. And also multiply the bottom by 10 to give me 50. As I look at those two things, they really are the same problem, right? 10 divided by 5 equals 2, just like 100 divided by 50 equals 2. Even though I multiplied top and bottom by 10, right? In essence, I multiplied by 1. I got the same answer. But these two problems look different and are considered equivalent because we're getting the same answer and we're using basically the same numbers. We're going to take this principle of being able to change problems around and still getting the same values and still the same answers when it comes to decimals. As you look at this problem, the fact is when we divide decimals, by decimals, right? We talk about the divisor. I'll draw a box here, rewrite the problem. We're going to talk about the fact that this is 0.5, which is the divisor, which is going into the dividend of 1.5. We're looking for this answer, which we call the quotient. But the rule of thumb that comes with dividing by decimal numbers, dividing by a decimal, is technically we can't have a decimal on the outside. So we need to eliminate that decimal. And to do that, we basically need to write an equivalent problem. And the easiest way to do that is to apply what we looked at the other day with when we multiply a decimal by 10. When we multiply a decimal, which is in the tens place, when we multiply that by 10, our decimal is going to shift over one spot. And so 0.5 times 10 is going to give us an answer of 5. Now, because I do it to the bottom, I must also do it to the top. And so I'm going to take my 1.5 and the decimal is going to shift over, and I'm going to get a 15. So we have that idea. And suddenly we have a division problem that is very easy to understand. 15 divided by 5, of course, is 3. As we look at it over here with our box, right, what did we, in essence, do? We looked at our decimal here. I moved it over one place value here, and I have a 5 now. Because I moved it over 1 in the divisor, I also need to move it over 1 in the dividend. So the new problem is 15 divided by 5, of course. As that answer of. Let's work with this idea some more. Right? Here is our divisor. We need to eliminate that decimal from the divider. In this case, we have a problem that works with tens, and we need to move it over one decimal spot. By moving it over one decimal spot, our new number is 4. Since I moved it over 1 in the divisor, I also need to do 1 in the dividend. So I start here, and I move it over 1 place value. And so in the end, the problem becomes 4, which is the divisor, and 12.8, which is the dividend. And now I can divide. I have got rid of the decimal out here in the divisor, so I can divide. The decimal here in the dividend, that can be there. There's nothing wrong with that. We've already looked at dividing that way, and we know that our first step is going to be to put the decimal straight up, which is part of the reason why it's so important. We have to move the decimal. The first step. If we go back to the original problem, looking at what we have here, we see that we have a decimal here and we have a decimal here. According to our rule, we says put the decimal straight up, put the decimal straight up. Obviously, we can't have a number with two decimals. So we need to get rid of this one, so we only have one decimal that we can. And that's what we did here. Right? We got the 4. Now if we divide 4 goes into 1, 0 times 4 goes into 12. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract. Okay, bring down to 8. There's the 8, 4 goes into 8. Looking at our next problem, we see that we have, once again, a very similar situation, right? Decimal is in the divisor, and it can be. So, we need to move it, right? To move it over 1, that would be like multiplying by 10. After I multiply 10 in the divisor, now I have to move it over 1 in the division. Alright, now at this point, it's hard to see your work, that's why I rewrite it. I have a new divisor of 3, and my new revised equivalent dividend of 2.4, and now I can divide, right? First step, decimal goes straight up, 3 goes into 2, 0 times, 3 goes into 24, 8 times. So that is the lesson. How it works, how it's done, and what it looks like. Here's a sample problem. 1. Practice working with dividing by decimal. That is the lesson.